Life in the fast lane. Surely make you lose your mind. Life in the fast lane. Are you with me so far?
What's up, everyone? Back at you. I think all of the fallout from the Royal Rumble is pretty much blown over now, and we can start talking like civilized human beings again, and I sure as hell am happy about that. Gonna do a quick Raw review tonight, just a recap of some of the things we saw, as well as some thoughts on Triple H on Stone Cold's podcast immediately following Raw on the WWE Network. Now, we're gonna get back to business tonight. No more of that silly-ass debating about Roman Reigns and how he was used. You know, the Roman Reigns situation, I understand, was a complete debacle. I understand that the Royal Rumble was booked in an absolutely ass-backwards way. Very disappointing match, very disappointing ending, very disappointing everything. That was never for one single solitary second, to quote The Rock, was that ever debated by me. I 100% understood that. My issue and my anger and some of the things that I took exception to were some of the fans taking it to what I considered to be just a little bit extreme, taking it a little bit too far. I don't believe in going so crazy and staging protests and everything like that because, like I said, and like Triple H said tonight on Stone Cold's podcast, WWE is a never-ending book. What we saw at the Royal Rumble was not the end of the movie. It was just one chapter. Granted, the chapter sucked. I'm not denying that, but it was just one chapter, and the story goes on. To stage silly-ass little protests until you get what you want, I think was very short-sighted, and I didn't like a lot of the fans' reaction to the Royal Rumble. Although I agreed with them it sucked, I just thought that they took it way too far. Most people agreed with me. The feedback I got on both of those videos was overwhelmingly positive. There were a few. I would have people say things to me like, we don't have to sit here and take what the WWE gives us. Well, actually, you kind of do. The only way you don't have to take what they give you is to stop watching. But of course, you're not doing that. You're just staging your little cancel WWE Network protest that you will probably turn around and resubscribe to in the next week or two when you're over the whole fucking thing. And a lot of people were pissed at me for attacking fans for being passionate. You can't be pissed at everybody for just being passionate and caring about wrestling. It's not that either. I don't believe that these people are passionate. I believe that they are drama queens. I believe at the end of the day, deep down in their bones, they enjoy being pissed off. Deep down in their bones, they enjoy complaining and criticizing every single thing they see, being completely spoiled and never being happy. It's the people like that that I took exception to. Were saying to me, hey, good mic work, I just don't think you understand. You don't get it. These fans are just upset because they're seeing the same nonsense from the WWE over and over and over. Well, no shit. Have you not been paying attention for the last 10 years? Haven't we seen a lot of this kind of crap from the WWE? It's the nature of the beast now. It's just, today's era, and it fucking sucks. And the days of the overscripted promos and the oversaturation of the product and the overbooking and the overdoing of everything are very, very much alive and well and aren't going anywhere. And this is the type of shit we're going to have to become accustomed to from the WWE. Their thinking is different. Their line of, booking and everything is just different. And sometimes they can be so retarded. That's what made me the most mad at WWE is at the Royal Rumble, the fact that they just went along with the plan for Roman Reigns. They weren't doing it to piss off the fans. They weren't doing it on purpose to spite everybody. They actually truly believed in their hearts that that was going to get over. The fans were not having it, and they had every right to be pissed. I took issue with the people that were actually, making so much noise that, the WWE should be dead and buried. Everybody should cancel their WWE Network subscription. We should put this company out of business because they pissed us off in a fake fucking wrestling match. I thought that was a little bit extreme, and I kept telling everybody, if you just keep watching, you never know how this will turn out. You might wind up being happy. I was one of the leading people screaming at the WWE last year when they were stupid enough to do this shit with Batista. And what happened? We were all thrilled by the time WrestleMania 30 rolled around. And we're going to get into WrestleMania 31. We're going to get into Raw and Daniel Bryan and some of the things surrounding that. But I think one of the things the WWE did well tonight on our first live Monday Night Raw since the Royal Rumble, because Raw was canceled last week, I thought that they handled Roman Reigns in a much better way tonight. And I think now that a lot of this initial anger has kind of blown over from the Royal Rumble, a lot of the more angry fans might be able to take a step back and look at the situation now and say, okay, this wasn't necessarily Roman Reigns. Everybody fucking hates Roman Reigns. They want the guy to die. I mentioned on Twitter that if there was somebody out there that did not watch the Royal Rumble and they only read the reaction from fans, they would have thought that Roman Reigns raped and murdered a small child. The anger was not matching up to what actually took place, and I think a lot of fans were extremely out of line. Now, if I was a little insulting and if I was a little bit harsh in my last commentary, I actually do sincerely apologize because I refuse to let Roman Reigns turn into John Cena, and I've already taken enough shit for having the balls to defend John Cena in the past. I'm actually in the minority of people that would go out on a limb and defend John Cena. That's so unheard of, and I'm not fucking scared to do it, and I'm not scared to do it with Roman Reigns either. The difference is I'm not going to do it with him. I'm not going to waste my time or energy. We're just going to have to sit back and watch how the WWE handles this, and you can either like it or you don't like it. But when you start threatening to cancel things and all that, you know you're full of shit. If you really want to stage a true protest, then completely stop watching the product altogether. But you know that's not going to happen. So next time something happens that sucks, and mark my words, something will happen again that will totally fucking suck. It will suck more balls than you could ever imagine them sucking. It'll probably happen sooner rather than later. The next time that happens, just take a deep breath and calm down and don't fucking fly off the handle, because it's not that big a deal at the end of the day. It's just wrestling, and we're right in the middle of WrestleMania time, which should be very exciting for all of us. So let's just try to all be cool and try to make the best of what so far is not that great of a situation. But the WWE tried to rectify things a little bit better tonight on Raw. Number one, the Authority opens up the show with a major announcement, or at least that's what they were teasing all week long and all day long, is that Triple H had some major announcement that would rock the WWE to its core and have huge effects on the main event of WrestleMania 31. Now, basically, the announcement is that Triple H and Stephanie acknowledged the clusterfuck of the Royal Rumble, and that a lot of guys, didn't even have any business being out there, like The Rock. They were very pissed off at The Rock for interfering. The fact that Curtis Axel was never even thrown over the top rope, and all of the controversy surrounding it. They thought it might not be best for business if they just hand the main event to Roman Reigns. So what are they going to do? They're going to make a match at Fastlane. Now, their match at Fastlane was going to be determined that night. They were going to have a match between Daniel Bryan and Seth Rollins. Daniel Bryan and Seth Rollins both came out to the ring. Daniel Bryan, I believe, came out first and basically staked his claim for the number one contender spot. He says, I still have not received my title match after you guys stripped me last year. I never lost that belt. You haven't given me a title shot since I've been back, and I think I have a legitimate claim to the main event at WrestleMania 31. I want to do it all over again. Seth Rollins also comes out there and he makes a claim for the match as well. Of course, he's the Money in the Bank holder. So Triple H decides that Rollins and Bryan would main event Raw tonight, and the winner of that match would go on to face Roman Reigns at Fastlane, and then the winner of that would go on to wrestle Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 31. Now, in my humble opinion, Raw has only been off the air for a couple of hours. I could be wrong once we start reading internet reports or whatnot, but if I had to take a guess on the surface here, this is not at all like last year. I don't believe the WWE is quote-unquote caving in to the fans and giving them Daniel Bryan. Yes, the fans clearly want him. He is the most over guy in the company. I'm not disputing that. But something tells me that they just still want to go with Roman Reigns. And I think this is almost a time killer, or even in a way maybe giving fans a sense of false hope, trying to string them along, making them think that Daniel Bryan might actually go into the main event of WrestleMania, because they have to have something on the line at the next pay-per-view. You got to remember, the Elimination Chamber is no more. This is now fucking shitty-ass Fastlane, and they have to have something on the line, and this is nothing new. They've been putting up Royal Rumble number one contender spots for years, dating all the way back to fucking Shawn Michaels when he won it, and then he had to go in and face Owen Hart at the February In Your House, whatever that year was, 96, I believe. They did it again in 1997 with that Final Four shit when Austin won under suspicious circumstances at the Royal Rumble, and I think they even did it in 99 with the cage match with Vincent and Stone Cold. So, the number one contender spot at WrestleMania has been on the line multiple times in February. This is, really something that I would have expected the WWE to do, because Brock's not going to be there, and you still want to build that suspense for WrestleMania, and then once you get past the February pay-per-view, that's when everything is set in stone for real. So I think in this case, the WWE is just, like I said, stringing the fans along. I fully expect it to be Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, and as much as I love Daniel Bryan, and as much as I love the fans, some of them for letting the WWE know that they're unhappy, it's just the ones that take it to the extreme that I don't like. But I'm all for voicing your opinion and telling the WWE that they're a bunch of fucking idiots. So if you guys want Daniel Bryan, by all means, speak up as loud as you want. Don't ever think that I don't want you to do that. Just don't make any bullshit protests threatening not to watch, and then you turn around and you're watching the very next day. I think in this case, it's still going to be Roman Reigns. It's going to be interesting because he's going in there against Daniel Bryan. I actually would have thought that Seth Rollins would have won this match on Raw, because I'm thinking to myself, if the WWE wants to get the fans behind Roman Reigns a little bit more, maybe get Roman Reigns a little more sympathy, have people actually behind him. I think putting him in the ring with Daniel Bryan is the worst thing they can do. Daniel Bryan is over as a motherfucker. Those yes chants are the loudest thing we've heard in wrestling in quite some time. Roman Reigns is, he's getting that mixed reaction from the crowd. So Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan's pop and his crowd reaction that he's going to get is going to eclipse Roman Reigns probably by 100 times. And I don't know how that's going to do Roman Reigns any favors if they're trying to build him, going into WrestleMania 31. But I still think it's going to be him. I still think it has to be him, because as much as I love Daniel Bryan, the road that Brock Lesnar has traveled on since he ended the streak last year at WrestleMania, I said this in a commentary not long ago, is that you would think that the storyline is calling for him to run into somebody that he cannot run over. And Roman Reigns fits that bill. He's big, he's powerful, he's tough. Daniel Bryan is the little guy. It would have to be the story of the underdog, overcoming all odds again to beat this giant Goliath, a true David and Goliath story. But I don't know if that's the proper story this year. With Brock Lesnar and the tear he's been on since last year, and with him potentially going over to the UFC, you've got to think that somebody's got to knock him on his fucking ass. And I'm sorry, as much as you love Daniel Bryan, it's not believable that Daniel Bryan can completely obliterate Brock Lesnar. It's not believable at all. The only way Daniel Bryan would ever be able to beat Brock Lesnar in a match is to get extremely, extremely lucky and probably be left in a broken, bloody heap at the end of the match, even if he did win. So if Brock is about to head off to the UFC and leave for a while, I think he needs to get knocked the fuck out. And Roman Reigns and the Superman punch and all that shit, and the fact that he's big and bad and can maybe fill the role of the big bad guy that, Brock Lesnar is leaving behind if he does in fact go, I just think that's the direction WWE is going to go in. And I think this Daniel Bryan thing is just a tease. Now, where do they go from here? What's going to happen at Fastlane if Roman Reigns does in fact beat Daniel Bryan? Can the WWE book this match in a way to where even if Daniel Bryan loses, if these guys are somehow able to put on an unbelievable show, like a kick-ass match full of drama and near falls and, everything like that, and then have Roman Reigns come out at the end of it, the winner, and the fans still not hating it, that's the big key here. So they got to figure out a way to book this match to where if Daniel Bryan is going to lose, that the fans don't lose their fucking mind again. And then if Daniel Bryan does in fact lose, where does he go from here? We've heard the rumors, or at least you guys have been telling me, apparently there's a Daniel Bryan Dolph Ziggler match in the works for WrestleMania. Now don't get me wrong, that all sounds great. The very fact of those guys being in the ring together, that can only create magic. And I think if those guys opened up the show, that could be a great way to start WrestleMania. But I honestly, even though I don't think Daniel Bryan belongs in the WWE title picture this year, I would almost like to see him in a little bit more of a high-profile match. Not that him and Ziggler can't be high-profile, but something's going to have to change in storyline. Otherwise, it's just going to look like they're throwing those two guys together just to go out there and have a great match with nothing else surrounding the match. And I don't know if that's necessarily good. So I think maybe a Ziggler heel turn, maybe a Bryan heel turn. I would hope not. But maybe Ziggler has something to do with Daniel Bryan losing to Roman Reigns, and that can set up the WrestleMania match. Otherwise, if Bryan just goes in and loses clean to Roman Reigns, what reason would he even have to start a feud or an angle with Dolph Ziggler, heading into WrestleMania? So I would almost think that there's got to be, to me, I'm all for a great in-ring wrestling match, don't get me wrong, but this is WrestleMania, and I would like to have some sort of a storyline tied in here. And if Bryan and Ziggler, can have something like that, I'm sure the whole thing can be good. But if it's just a basic random match, thrown together to open up the show or something, as good as that match will be, I don't know if I would necessarily love to see that. So we've still got a long way to go, and I have plenty of time to change my mind. By the time we roll around to my Fast Lanes predictions video, who knows what I'll think will happen in the main event or anything like that. But as it stands right now, my gut instinct tells me that they are still going to go with Roman Reigns, and this Daniel Bryan thing is just going to set the fans up for yet another fucking disappointment. And I admire the WWE's balls as well, because as I'm watching Monday Night Raw, I'm thinking to myself, there's no way Seth Rollins can lose this match. He has to face Roman Reigns at Fastlane. Otherwise, Roman Reigns is going to get completely buried by the crowd. Maybe even not so much because they don't like Roman Reigns, but because they love Daniel Bryan so much. And that's really not a great way to make Roman Reigns look strong, WWE. So we'll have to see what happens. You guys let me know. What do you think about Daniel Bryan? Do you think the WWE might actually put him back in the main event this year? Just because I don't think they would, don't think for a second that I wouldn't like to see that. I would love to see that. If Daniel Bryan was able to get back into the title picture at WrestleMania again 2 years in a row, that would be great. But like I said, I don't think this is like last year. The WWE strung us along for so long last year, remember, until they finally did that Occupy Bryan segment. They did this almost immediately following the Royal Rumble, which made me think it was all done by design, and they probably were going to go along with this segment and this match at Fastlane, regardless of the fan reaction to the Royal Rumble. I think this is what they had planned all along. They're masquerading this as them listening to the WWE Universe and saying, okay, we hear you. We're going to give Daniel Bryan an opportunity to main event WrestleMania because all of you were clearly pissed off about the ending of the Royal Rumble, and we want to be fair and best for business, and we want to listen to our audience. So we're going to set up this bullshit, blah, blah, blah. Rollins, Bryan wins, goes on to face Roman Reigns at Fastlane, and they get the fans all built up for a probably huge disappointment. Speaking of Roman Reigns, I think even the most cynical haters would have to admit the WWE at least did handle him a little bit better tonight. First of all, he lost his match against the Big Show with outside interference from Seth Rollins, and then he made a great appearance in the main event. That spear he gave the Big Show, when he was running down the ramp, that was fucking awesome. I guarantee you they're going to put that into the Raw opening. It just seemed like the perfect image or the perfect little, 2-second clip that they could use for like a Raw opening or some opening to their fucking show. It looked amazing. Probably one of the best and most exciting spears I've ever seen Roman Reigns throw. It was great. When he came in and he helped out Daniel Bryan. He also wasn't horrible in the opening promo when he got on the mic a little bit. He also had a backstage segment in the locker room with Daniel Bryan, which wasn't half bad. So Roman Reigns, all in all, was just handled better, to where if they do things like this more often, it'll be a little bit easier for the fans to get behind him or like him a little bit more. I'm not saying he's everybody's favorite wrestler now, but if you just book him right and book him smart, fans can get behind him. I really wish the fans would give this guy a little bit more credit for, where he came from. Just what his fucking last name is, the guy's got it in his blood. We owe it to him to at least give him a chance, and if we're going to vent our anger, direct it at the WWE. They're the dumb ones, not Roman Reigns. The fans are going to have to get past the fact that it's probably not going to be Daniel Bryan. If they can do that and they can get behind Roman Reigns and the WWE can be a little smart about it on their end, I don't think this will be a horrible main event for WrestleMania 31. I think Brock, as good as he is, we know how fucking awesome Brock Lesnar is, and you put him in there with Roman Reigns, I don't see how they can have a bad match. He's not in there with Triple H. He's not in there with The Undertaker. He's not in there with John Cena. He's in there with a new, young guy. We should be happy about that. And I know what some people will say, oh, you just have too much faith in WWE good mic work. Well, yeah, maybe I do. Fuck you. I've been right before. I had faith in him last year before WrestleMania 30. I was right. I had faith in him over the summer when I said Brock Lesnar is going to kill John Cena and take that fucking title off his waist. At SummerSlam, I was right. And I had faith in WWE that they would stay the course and keep the belt on Brock Lesnar going into WrestleMania 31 instead of having him drop it to John Cena in their fourth fucking rematch. And I was also right. So let's just rephrase it as benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give the WWE the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to understand that this is WrestleMania time, and they usually pull out some pretty great shit every year during this time on TV. So I'm going to sit back and enjoy and hope that I see that same great content that I do from them every year. And I'm sure as hell not going to let Roman Reigns ruin my life. Oh, and did you guys see the Masked Man? What was that all about? A few people tweeted some pictures of this guy in a complete full-on hood and mask sitting front row, and they were thinking he was going to interfere in the main event, possibly that being Randy Orton. I'm actually surprised we haven't seen Randy Orton back yet. I'm sure he's due back any time. If I had to guess, I would think they would build a match between Orton and Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. That seems like the right direction. So maybe they're just holding off Randy Orton until the right time, until they can bring him in. I thought he would interfere in something and cost Seth Rollins something leading to their match at WrestleMania. So I don't know when that's going to happen. And then don't forget, Seth Rollins is still the Money in the Bank holder. Now, a lot of people have been saying, oh, he should cash in at WrestleMania 31. That's something else I wanted to address. I've had a lot of people tell me that. Now, on one hand, I think that would be fucking awesome. But on the other hand, I don't know if they would do it. I would be really curious to see if that's what the WWE did. Because one thing about WrestleManias is they usually don't have big-time crazy swerves happen in the main event. Usually it's something somewhat predictable. Usually it's a very memorable moment designated and given to one particular guy. And they usually don't tie too much else in with it. The only time they really did was, WrestleMania 17 when Stone Cold turned heel, but there was still a big title victory there, a big celebration, crowd went ballistic, all that kind of stuff. They've never really thrown thrown any huge swerve at us. So I would think that that could be a nice change of pace. You know, it's the 31st WrestleMania, the dawning of a new era. Maybe go with something like that in their main event, you know, but they would, I just don't see him doing it. I think Seth Rollins is going to cash in at some other time. But if he did it at WrestleMania, it kind of goes against everything the WWE has ever done. But if they did do it, man, that would be shocking. That would be awesome. I would like to see them sell the fuck out of it too. You know, let's say Rollins has a match with Randy Orton earlier on in the night, and then they go on to the big Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar match, you know, at WrestleMania, and maybe even Brock wins. I don't know. But let's say Roman Reigns does in fact beat Brock Lesnar, becomes WWE champion, celebrates in the ring. I'm talking confetti, music. I want his family to come in the ring. I want the celebration to go on for 10 fucking minutes. I want the fans to think the show is going off the air. And then at the very last second, you have Seth Rollins come out there, either attack Roman Reigns or just have Seth Rollins' music hit, and he comes out there and he's able to successfully cash in and steal the great moment away from Roman Reigns. If they were going to do something like that, that's pretty much the only way I would accept it, just because it's something they've never done before, especially if you really make the fans think that it's over. I mean, have the confetti, have fucking everything come down. I want Roman Reigns' fucking grandmother in the ring when this all takes place. You know, to me, that would be fucking great. You know, I cannot see them doing that. I've had so many people tell me that WrestleMania would be the perfect place for Seth Rollins to cash in the briefcase, but I think given the way the WWE does things at WrestleMania, I don't think they're going to do it there. But if they did, oh shit, that would be awesome. So as of right now, I'm totally for the idea. I just don't think it's going to happen, but I may change my mind as we get closer to WrestleMania. Now, really quickly, there's just a couple of things I feel like I need to mention about Monday Night Raw. First of all, where's that other guy everybody hates? John Cena. You know, I barely saw him tonight. He did come out to the ring, cut a promo on Rusev. Stephanie McMahon, I think, interrupted him. And John Cena, not very heavily featured right now, but he is facing Rusev, and that match is going to take place at Fastlane, and I expect them to have a rematch at WrestleMania. Now, if anything else, you know, that cracks me up so much, again, about all the outrage from the Royal Rumble and how truly pissed off fans really were, it just cracks me up that it seems like they've almost completely forgot about the guy that they hate more than anybody else, John Cena, that had nothing to do with any of this controversy. He has nothing to do with the WWE title right now. He won't be anywhere near it at WrestleMania 31. And now he's in a whole nother feud with this young guy, the United States champion. Imagine that. Maybe John Cena will get a title match. Maybe John Cena will be the United States champion. Could you fucking imagine that? Now, I know fans are still going to find a way to hate the guy because he's in there with somebody young, and God forbid if he wins, he will not win. He will bury him, of course. But still, John Cena, at least he's out of the major limelight right now. To me, that's a very, very positive thing. This is 2 WrestleManias in a row now that John Cena is going to be in the mid-card. That's good news, guys. It's good fucking news. Now, his feud with Rusev, can he redeem himself in the eyes of some fans from last year? A lot of people did not think he should have beat Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania 30. Bray Wyatt did get a victory over John Cena, but then I think John Cena got another one over him, and John Cena ended up coming through the feud, you know, as the victor. Now, this year, we're in the same situation. Fastlane, I don't really give a shit what happens at Fastlane. I give a shit what happens at WrestleMania. So I don't care who wins. If John Cena is able to beat Rusev at Fastlane, don't threaten to cancel your WWE network because Rusev could very well beat him at WrestleMania 31. That remains to be seen, but it could happen. And I'd like to see if this year the WWE actually has John Cena lose to somebody else. Oh, good mic work, you're stupid. Fat chance of the WWE ever doing that. Maybe you're right. I'm just saying, maybe this year the WWE learns from last year's mistakes. I really would have preferred Bray Wyatt to beat John Cena last year at WrestleMania 30. John Cena can beat Bray Wyatt all he wants, just not at WrestleMania 30. So maybe this year, John Cena gets the first win at Fastlane, and then Rusev beats him at WrestleMania. What are the chances that that happens? My guess is not very good. If I had to guess, Rusev, you know, might get some sort of a victory over Cena at Fastlane, and then Cena beats him at WrestleMania. But either way, the WrestleMania match is the one I'm most interested in, and I'm not going to judge this feud at all until we get past the WrestleMania match, because clearly that's going to happen. I'd be surprised if it didn't. If Cena and Rusev do not work Mania together, shit, I can't even begin to speculate who they would work with. So I would have to think that these guys are going to fight again at WrestleMania 31. If it's a gimmick match, I don't know, maybe it's a fucking flag match or something, you know? I don't know. You saw the flag shit tonight on Raw. That was pretty funny. I believe that was was a botch, and the WWE played it off as if John Cena had something to do with the flag not coming down during Rusev's fucking celebration that he does every week. I actually don't know if it was a botch or not. If it was a botch, the WWE covered it brilliantly, and you wouldn't have even known, and they kind of, gave John Cena the credit for causing the flag not to come down, which just adds fuel to their feud, so they lucked out on that one. Looks like the Miz and Damien Mizdow are also now finally splitting up. I don't know what they're going to do, Fastlane or WrestleMania. I'm sure there will be a match or two involved there, which is great for Sandow. He's finally moving on from that nonsense, and hopefully he can get back on the map because he's over his shit right now. I'm rooting for him. It also looks like they are, in fact, going to go through with a Dean Ambrose Intercontinental title run. I'm fine with that. I mentioned in one of my recent commentaries that I didn't know how great that would even be for him. He's already been United States champion once. He held the title for a long time, and, it didn't really do anything to elevate him at all. But the Intercontinental title has been slightly better, after Dolph Ziggler's title run and it being featured a little bit more prominently, I guess. But still, the Intercontinental title is hot potato. Wade Barrett is a 5-time, is that what they said? 5-time Intercontinental champion? I don't even remember I can't even remember one time when he won it. It's just everything is so insignificant now. Titles are changing hands left and right. I can't even keep track. So Dean Ambrose holding the Intercontinental title, great for him. At least it's a victory for him. At least he might actually come out on the winning end of a feud for once, which is all good. But, whether it's going to do anything to elevate Dean Ambrose, I think the guy's already pretty much over. The fans like him a lot. And the Intercontinental title run is fine with me. Hopefully he can bring some entertainment to the Intercontinental title. I like Bad News Barrett as well. Barrett's great. I hope these guys can work a fun program. But again, it's one of these things that, on the surface, it just seems like they're thrown together. All right, let's put Ambrose with Barrett right now. Let's give him a run with the Intercontinental title. They can flop it back and forth a couple times. Ambrose will probably beat Barrett for it. Barrett could beat him for it or whatever, or Ambrose could win it and have a long run like he did with the U.S. title. Who knows? But either way, I'm an Ambrose fan, and I just want what's best for Ambrose. And of course, I have to mention one of the more memorable moments of the night, and that was Bray Wyatt's promo. He also had a match with Dolph Ziggler that he won. Great match between those two, by the way. Awesome fucking Monday Night Raw match between Wyatt and Ziggler and Bryan and Rollins. I don't know what the fuck we are complaining about. There was some good wrestling tonight, but Bray Wyatt also cut a promo calling somebody out, and it really appears that it might be The Undertaker. I'm blown away by that. I'm really surprised. I thought maybe Undertaker, if he wasn't completely retired, he might sit this year out. We have heard rumors of Bray Wyatt and The Undertaker. Last time we've seen photographs of The Undertaker, he looks like he's 343 years old, and I don't know how he can barely walk, much less wrestle, but they might actually be going in this direction. At least I think. I don't know who Bray Wyatt could be talking about instead. I was even thinking about it. I mean, who could he be talking about? I even thought like Randy Orton or something, or fucking Stone Cold even. I was just thinking of all sorts of names. I really couldn't think of anybody that made any sense. Bray Wyatt did say, he said in the promo, did you miss me? Come find me. So whoever he's talking about must miss him. I know that the Wyatts and Undertaker have had run-ins in the past, but I don't know where the miss me thing comes from. So maybe the WWE, what's it called, a red herring? Maybe they're throwing one of those at us and throwing us off the trail a little bit. And whoever Bray Wyatt is calling out turns out to be somebody else. But I don't think the WWE would tease Undertaker and make the fans think Undertaker if they weren't going to bring in Undertaker, because at this point, anything less than The Undertaker will be a disappointment. So it looks as if we might actually get Bray Wyatt versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Now, if that's the case, wow, what do they do here? You know what I say? Have Taker lose again. I mean, fuck it. At this point, the streak's dead. It doesn't matter now. He could lose 3 in a row. What if Undertaker loses his final 3 WrestleMania matches? What if after all those years, 21 years of victory after victory after victory, Undertaker goes out in his final 3 WrestleMania matches and loses each and every one of them, including next year, and you tie that into a Hall of Fame induction, at Cowboy Stadium there in Dallas. I think that could be awesome, but who knows? I have no fucking idea. If Undertaker comes back to face Bray Wyatt, if he wins, I'm all fine with that as well. But, at this point, like I said, with the streak being over, why doesn't Undertaker just, put some guys over? And he very well might. Otherwise, if he doesn't, we haven't seen The Undertaker since WrestleMania 30, since the day of WrestleMania 30 when Brock Lesnar put him in the hospital, and now he's going to come back and beat Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania 31. How in the world could you be mad at John Cena for beating Bray Wyatt last year and not be mad at The Undertaker for beating Bray Wyatt this year? So as it it stands right now for Fastlane, the matches are Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan. The winner goes on to face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 31 for the WWE title. John Cena is also going to take on Rusev in a match, and I believe there's a Divas match as well, and Sting is going to be called out to the ring by Triple H. This should set up their WrestleMania match as well. Sting is going to come out, Triple H is going to come out and call out Sting. The two of them are going to have a confrontation in the ring. I'm sure some sort of a scuffle or brawl will ensue, and that should set up their match for WrestleMania, Sting and Triple H. So things are starting to take shape. We'll know a lot more after Fastlane, but we're at least seeing the direction they're going to go in. We could be looking at Daniel Bryan versus Dolph Ziggler, Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins versus Randy Orton, Sting versus Triple H, Bray Wyatt versus The Undertaker, maybe even Stardust and Goldust and Miz Mizdow, matches like that. So things are starting to take shape, and right now it's too early to say if it's going to be good or bad, but I'm optimistic because I'm a positive motherfucking individual. I'll briefly touch on Triple H's appearance on Stone Cold's podcast as well. I watched that immediately following Raw. They touched on a few things. It wasn't nearly as, memorable or as juicy as Vince McMahon's appearance because all of that was so closely associated with the CM Punk situation and the fans were salivating and chomping at the bit to hear everything they could about that. This was a little bit different. Triple H, he's a little bit more laid back, a little bit more cool, but it was pretty crazy some of the shit they were talking about, at first because, I'm like, wow, this is on the WWE Network. This is immediately following Raw. As a matter of fact, right after Daniel Bryan beat Seth Rollins, Renee Young is in the backstage area, asking Triple H, hey, what did you think of the ending of that main event? And he's like, I'll talk about it on Stone Cold's podcast. So you think the thing's going to be kayfabe, and it's going to be COO Triple H, the authority leader, on the podcast bitching about Daniel Bryan, and then they get right into it. Stone Cold's like, we're not talking about that shit. This is going to be real, and they immediately go in to how the WWE booked the Royal Rumble. It just amazes me. I mean, the business has been exposed for so long. This is nothing new, but it's just amazing watching Triple H 2 seconds before this. He's completely in character. Then he walks backstage, sits down with Stone Cold, and basically talks about how everything, is booked and the inner workings backstage and everything. It's just still amazing that this stuff is so exposed. If this was something I saw in the 90s, it would have blown my fucking mind. It was just very, very amazing, very surreal to see these guys talk about some of the things they were talking about. And Austin asked some pretty blunt, hard questions. And one of those questions was, what the fuck were you guys thinking when you booked the Royal Rumble and Reigns the way he did? You didn't do him any favors. You didn't make him look strong. You could have made him look a lot better. And maybe the Royal Rumble wouldn't have been so bad if you would have just taken the time to think about a better way to get the fans to accept Roman Reigns. Because if you really wanted him, they just should have thought it through a little bit more. And Stone Cold's correct. There were a lot of holes in that Royal Rumble. Roman Reigns, especially the ending guys, the showing that Bray Wyatt put on just for him to be dumped out the way he was. They should have had some more drama to it. Dolph Ziggler even, who they were, building as maybe a Cinderella favorite in this thing, he draws number 30 and is just fucking tossed out like a sack of garbage. There was so many problems with the Royal Rumble. And when I went back and watched it again, of course, they showed it last week on Raw when Raw was canceled, but I also went back and watched it a third time on the WWE Network, and it just got me more pissed off because I'm like, man, I'm just a fucking guy sitting at home, and even I know that's silly fucking booking, So I think the WWE, just really dropped the ball on this Royal Rumble, and now it's up to them, to do their best to rectify the situation. And motherfuck, they cannot do it 3 years in a row next year. They better start planning right now for next year's Royal Rumble, not to fuck it up as badly as they have the previous two. But Austin was pretty straightforward in his questions, and of course Triple H did his best, to explain it in the best, corporate way possible, and let Austin know what maybe WWE's side of the story is. But Triple H definitely acknowledged there were some problems, and that's something that they're trying to fix now. And we just saw that on Monday Night Raw with a wonderful showing by Roman Reigns. And if they can do that with him every week, the fans might not fucking hate the guy. They talked a little bit about NXT as well, and Triple H basically said that Vince has given this to him as his full-on. I mean, Triple H is in 100% control of that. He answers to no one. It's Triple H's creation. It's his baby. And, that's one of the things I think the fans need to respect Triple H about, is because, he does love wrestling. You can bitch at him all you want for marrying Stephanie and having a shovel and all that other fucking shit you hear people say about Triple H. At the end of the day, he's a pretty smart fucking man, and he loves wrestling, and he loves the history of the business. Young, 17-year-old punks don't know jack shit about where the business came from and how it originated and all of the years of history and the things that have happened in professional wrestling wrestling to lead us to where we've gotten. You know, the new generation of fans today don't have the first clue about that. So the fact that you've got a guy that's most likely going to be taking over for Vince McMahon and he's that much ingrained in pro wrestling, that's good. He sees the future and he's done incredible work with those kids at NXT. A lot of those guys are very well-respected independent workers. Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, fucking Hideo Itami, all those guys, the fans know and love and understand what they're capable of doing, and they're all there having the time of their lives working for a guy like Triple H that, you know, the internet wrestling fans fucking hate. So whatever your problems are with Triple H, and don't get me wrong, he's got a bunch of them. He's definitely done some fucked up shit, you know, throughout his career. We can't deny that, but the guy is doing a fabulous job with NXT, and I was enjoying some of the things they were talking about as far as, you know, the Performance Center and developing talent and how different things are today as it compares to yesterday. So it was a very interesting part of the podcast. I enjoyed hearing about the NXT. I couldn't believe Stone Cold asked Triple H about China. Could you believe that? My fucking jaw dropped. Austin wanted to know if China belongs in the Hall of Fame. Really putting Triple H on the spot. It amazed me because, you know, Triple H, you could tell he did not want to talk about it. He immediately brought up Bruno Sammartino, you know, basically saying, oh, we've brought in people that, you know, have had problems with WWE before, and he kind of wanted to keep talking about that. Austin was basically saying, do you think she belongs in the Hall of Fame? And Triple H says, yes, she is a trendsetter. She changed the business. She most definitely does deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, and that he holds no grudges. I think he's full of shit. I don't think things are ever going to be great between Triple H and China, but Triple H basically said that one of the reasons why she's not in the Hall of Fame is because of her lifestyle choices. And he brought up his 8-year-old kid going online and Googling China and finding out that she's a porn star, which he didn't really want to say. But, you know, to me, that's a okay excuse, but not a good enough excuse, because there's plenty of fucked up people in the WWE Hall of Fame. So I don't think China being in there is necessarily as bad as putting Chris Benoit in there, you know, who did some really horrible things. So I think it's just a matter of, it's got to be personal feelings. You have to remember Triple H and China used to be an item. Stephanie is Triple H's wife. You think she wants anything to do with China? Having her there, trust me. Wives don't want husbands to have anything to do with any of their fucking ex-girlfriends, and Triple H should have just came out and said that. Because if he wants to be real about it, he would have said, look, Austin, I cannot put someone in my wife's company's Hall of Fame who I used to fuck. I can't, especially when this woman is a disgusting, embarrassing piece of trash. And I cannot wait for China to get wind of what Triple H said and listen to her dumb ass come up on YouTube and sputter out a bunch of incoherent, drunk sentence fragments about how pissed off or whatever she is. She's a fucking mess. I also am of the opinion that China does belong in the Hall of Fame, but I'm also of the opinion that she's a mess. You know, they learned their lesson from Sunny. Don't you wish they could go back and take that fucking Hall of Fame induction away from her? The fucking mess and the embarrassment she has made of her life, being arrested 4 times in one day, you know, over some obsession with some guy. She's an idiot. So I think Triple H, even though I understand his opinions on China, she can't really go in because of who she is. He should have been a little bit more real about it and just said, look, Steve, China's accomplishments in wrestling deserve to be honored, but China, the person, cannot handle a WWE Hall of Fame induction. They probably don't trust her. DDP had to kidnap Scott Hall and move him into his house for a full year and completely rehabilitate the guy before the WWE even thought about putting him in the Hall of Fame because of his lifestyle. So I'm not necessarily disagreeing with Triple H, but, you know, I think he was bullshitting everybody when he was like, oh, it's my 8-year-old kid. Dude, whatever. We know what the deal is. He was also bullshitting a little bit about CM Punk, which is something else that surprised me. Stone Cold brought up CM Punk, said the fans want to know, what's your opinion of CM Punk? Do you hold a grudge? Whatever. Triple H, again, danced around a little bit, you know, kind of downplayed it and made it sound like he holds no grudges or whatever. But you know, he's got to just be fuming over what CM Punk said, because CM Punk was pretty harsh in that Colt Cabana podcast. I mean, I liked a lot of what CM Punk said. I love that there was somebody that went out there and exposed and called out the WWE on their bullshit. But I do think he was a little bit over the top a couple of times, and I think he was a little bit out of line in some of the things he said. And you know, Triple H cannot be happy about that. I do think they talked a little bit about the pipe bomb, and maybe when Triple H brought Kevin Nash in, I remember him mentioning that, saying it was all being done to build CM Punk, which, again, I got to call his bullshit on, because we know that Triple H should have put over CM Punk at that Night of Champions show. He just fucking should have. CM Punk held a grudge about it for a long time, you know, and he let everybody, and he let the fans know that in the podcast. So you know that Triple H is trying to be cool. He's trying to be the professional businessman that he now is as a future, major player in this company behind the scenes. He has to be politically correct, and he can't go on Austin's podcast and says, fuck CM Punk, he's a fucking piece of shit. The WWE, if the time is right, if the money is right, if, it's best for business, CM Punk could very well be back in the WWE one day, especially if he fails in the UFC. So I definitely think Triple H does hold a grudge against CM Punk, but I don't think that grudge will be enough to stop them from working together in the future. But when Triple H says he has no hard feelings, he's fucking full of it. It was all in all a very interesting interview. I watched the whole thing. I love the way they tried to pretend, just like with Vince. The whole podcast was pretty much legit, except they scripted the last fucking 5 minutes just like they did in the Vince podcast. They made it seem like they were out of time, but hey, we got more to talk about. And Vince McMahon's like, I own the network. I'll just give us another 15 minutes. Triple H is like, hey, I'm somebody. I've got a little bit of stroke around here, so they get an extra 5 minutes, and they go a little bit longer. Just a funny little trick they play at the end. I think even Kevin Dunn's name was mentioned in that. All in all, it was a good conversation. I enjoyed the podcast a lot. I thought it was a good interview. I was really surprised at some of the things they talked about, and all in all, enjoyed it. But like I said, not as juicy as the Vince interview, because of the CM Punk stuff, but still very, very good. And I hope we see more of these. I'd like to see Stone Cold have Stephanie on. If not her, some other major name in the pro wrestling business that you would love to hear talk in an interview. I would love to see them do more. Well, anyway, I have got to get out of here. I've got a lot to do. Very busy week. I will be up in a couple of days if anything major breaks in the world of pro wrestling. Otherwise, I'm working on my big WrestleMania memories video that should be uploaded by March 1st, give or take a day or two on that. So I'll be working on that throughout the month of February. I also have 2 This Day in Histories planned for this month at least, and it all should be a lot of fun. So I probably will not catch you guys until next week after Monday Night Raw. A full week without me. I hope you'll survive. Until next time, peace.